is now 5,000 of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My original introduction video was in 2022. And there's actually been a lot that's changed. So I went to a careers fair maybe a month ago. So I just thought I'd like regurgitate those questions that I got at the careers fair. And yeah, so let's get into the video. So a little reintroduction. My name's Georgia. I'm 28 years old. And I spent my hair's a funny colour now. Yeah, I'm 28. I currently work as a senior bioinformatician in a research institute in London. I'm based in Cambridge in the UK. I commute 4 days a week at the moment. I'm hoping it'll come down soon. But I commute 4 days a week into London to work my nice little 9-to-5 job as a senior bioinformatician. So I currently work in a core facility, so I'm supporting the bioinformatics in the research institute. Prior to that, I spent 1.5 years working as a bioinformatician in a cancer research group where I was developing pipelines to analyze imaging data. Why is my blusher not? Prior to that, I spent like 2 years and 10 months around that working at the Wellcome Sanger Institute in Cambridge, and this was working as a data scientist in genomics research, and this was in something called genomics surveillance. So I worked in malaria and I also worked in COVID during the pandemic, and this is because I started my first job, my first entry-level job, as a genomic data scientist. Spent nearly 3 years on the Genome campus, which was an amazing, really cool place to work. So it's my new place. So yeah, I've only worked in like research institutes. So these are kind of non-for-profit research organizations, but they're not directly, a university. So their main core thing that they do is the research, and they're funded by like big philanthropic grants. They have kind of long-term funding for research, not being attached to a university, but they will be like affiliated with a university. So people can like do research there and then get their PhD accredited by a partner uni, but it's not a uni itself. And then before this, I did a internship in bioinformatics at the Earlham Institute. So this was my first kind of role in bioinformatics. I was working in a bioinformatics research group, and they were kind of doing evolutionary genomics. So it's a very broad group, actually. I worked on neuroscience, working on brain data, which was really cool, and I'd love to do that again. And then prior to that, kind of where it all started, I guess, I did genetics and molecular biology at the University of East Anglia. So I spent 3 years doing my undergrad studying the kind of core principles of cell biology, cancer, molecular biology, and lots of genetics and genomics. So that's my kind of scientific background. At A-levels, I obviously took sciences to get into that. So I did biology, chemistry, and then philosophy. I took philosophy A-level because I really liked philosophy, and no teachers at my underperforming school told any of us that maybe you should do maths if you're doing science. I did a pre-med course for a year because I thought I wanted to go into medicine. And actually now, having met doctors and seen that lifestyle, I'm so glad I didn't get into medicine, because that just wouldn't have been something I would have enjoyed. Everything happens for a reason. And I didn't know you had other careers in science that weren't medicine. So very cool. What time is it? I need to leave in 15 minutes to go to work, so hopefully this will be quick. And then, what did I do before that? Yeah, and then it was just GCSEs at my state school, which is an interesting point I might get onto a bit later. But yeah, anyway, moving on. So I'm obviously a bioinformatician, meaning I work with biological data, mainly from omics, and I use big computing systems to kind of make sense of that and process these huge files that we have in genomics. I got into this because I started learning to code in the second year of my undergrad. So I started doing a bunch of like online courses. I spent some time volunteering with Code First Girls when I'd started to like get a bit more proficient. And then now every so often I will teach one of their data science degrees. So that's been a really nice thing I've been able to do, to like improve my teaching skills and then also help more people get this really important transferable skill that, like, yeah, I'm applying coding in biology right now, but I could go apply this anywhere in the future. Like, it's just a very important skill to have. That is my introduction. I just started answering this and I wasn't even filming. I got 7 minutes. Right. Question number 1. What is stressful about your job? So I actually haven't found much stressful about my job, and I don't know if that's because my personal life has been so stressful the past few years, but the main thing that was probably the most stressful that I found so far was just like learning as a young adult how to understand and adapt to like the internal politics within a company or an organization. So it's not like back in the bar world when I just like rock up and if something was wrong I just call it out and fix it.
So I don't know if anyone knows what spell check is, but I think this says
bottomless.
Why is there an L?
When you come into an organization and obviously like you don't have decision-making power, you can't just be going around saying your opinion on things as easily as like I would have done in hospitality. So like learning that and understanding that was quite stressful because I was kind of like, oh, like why am I rubbing people up the wrong way here? But it was stressful, like not being listened to. But then it's like, come on, you're junior, like you're not going to be listened to at this point, like you need to earn it. Over time I've like learned what it is to like be in an organization, so that's become a lot easier now. And yeah, coming from a girly with no help, my young adult life, it's been a bit tricky and stressful, but I think that would have been in any job, not just specific to bioinformatics. And then another thing that's stressful, I guess, as a female in bioinformatics is it's stressful sometimes when what you're saying is technically valuable, but you don't think it has as much weight as your male colleagues' opinions do. And that's very like stressful and frustrating, but I found that less as I progressed through my career. So it's kind of like, are the times changing? Is the environment changing? Or am I just getting more experience? I don't know, but I found that a bit stressful. And then finally, I found it stressful. Well, actually, I don't think the work itself is like that stressful. Like you set your own boundaries, it's still non-for-profit, like you're doing really important work, like you're contributing to like scientific research and furthering humanity's understanding of the world and creating translation information to impact human lives around the world. Like it's obviously like so fulfilling. So it's stressful if you're like invested, but at the same time, if you set your boundaries, you work your work hours and then you can log off and you can come back tomorrow. Whereas, you know, I see people working in law and consulting and finance and they're like stressed for working like, you know, 12, 16-hour days, and at least like we're doing it for like a really nice cause, so it just feels less stressful in my opinion. So that's what I found. The next question was, what is the most surprising thing you found in your career? So the most surprising thing, I've just found a lot more women than I originally thought. Back in 2019, when I was like looking at bioinformatics jobs and stuff, it felt really male heavy. And I don't know if that's because I then went into a group that was predominantly male at the time, but it just felt very male heavy. I even had like a professor of bioinformatics laugh at me when I said I was going to try and do my thesis in Python. So I just kind of got this impression that it was very male heavy and I'd feel like, yeah, like out of my comfort zone. But actually there's been a lot, I've had some great female colleagues, you know, they've been working in bioinformatics. I've also like met really nice people at networking events that are women working in bioinformatics. It's just a lot more female now than it used to be, maybe. That was quite surprising. And then second of all, I did make a video on this aspect, but it's just felt more glamorous than I thought. And I was a bit worried because my friends have gone to work in like London city jobs, or they're working in fashion. So I was always kind of like, oh, I'm just going to be like a scientist in a cupboard, like in a dingy room, like analysing data on computers. But it's actually felt more glamorous. Like my research institutes I've worked at have been like gorgeous buildings. Like it's nice to go to work, like the buildings are so pretty. And yeah, people don't really dress up much at work. I like to have a little nice jacket on sometimes. You get to like fly around the world going to conferences, and it's funny because a lot of like the kind of older scientists complain, they're like, oh, gotta go out to Florida, And it's like, what? Like, send me to Florida. Like, that's like so cool that we get to do that in our jobs. You know, whereas a lot of other jobs like don't have that aspect. So it's more female and more glamorous than I thought it was going to be, which is pretty cool. So the next question was, what are the career trajectories and growth for someone looking at a bioinformatics career? I need to leave for my train. Right, let's just take you with me. You can see in academia, like the classic route that you take, right? So you go from PhD to postdoc. Oh my God, my house is so messy. Yeah, so you go from like PhD to postdoc, and then you have like a full-on academic career. And it's harder to understand what a bioinformatician's career actually looks like. So basically, you come in at like entry level or junior level, and after that you can then get promoted to senior levels, and then after that you can get promoted to principal levels, and then you can either go on to be like a really technical person, like you're the amazing principal bioinformatician who is just so technically savvy, or you can go down a more managerial track, so starting to like manage other people, starting to manage projects. You can also dive into more kind of project management focused roles, so like understanding user requirements and then having the technical bioinformatics ability to then relay them into developing the product that the company is working on. So I think the career trajectories are like, oh, my AirPods are actually like really exciting, because yes, it's not going up to go and be a PI, but you've got multiple ways that you can grow. Kind of organizations have that structure within to be like kind of junior, senior, principal. And I think it's just quite easy to understand the growth. And then also, if you decide that biology is not for you anymore, you can literally just go and work in another sector that needs coding skills, or you can go into just more like operational roles in organizations. Like, there's loads to do. So I think the career growth is very exciting, to be honest. So that was that question. And the next question up, I'm just trying to figure out if I've got everything. Maybe a biscuit for the road. The next question is, do you need a PhD to be, where are my biscuits? To be a bioinformatician? So as the girl with no PhD, obviously I'm gonna say no. However, I'm not gonna lie, as time goes on, I do get, where are my keys? I do get like more and more concerned that it will become an issue. I'm gonna have to finish this video on a walk. That's so cringe. I do get more concerned that, yeah, as time goes on and I want to get higher up in my career, like it might become an issue. But at the moment, it's not been like too much of a barrier. But yeah, I would say that it definitely helps. And a lot of people who are like in industry positions, a lot of them have PhDs, so it's kind of like a senior role in industry would like need a PhD, whereas a senior role in a research institute is more like, oh, PhD or equivalent experience. So you don't need one. It definitely helps. And also, I feel like a lot more people now are like trying to get into this industry. So when I was at the careers event where this Q&A session came from, one of the ladies was actually saying that she has a PhD and she went and got it later on in her career because that was needed for her promotion. And then it reminded me of something actually. So there's classic Cambridge looking for cyclists. I got my laptop. So yeah, it reminded me of something that I don't think I've really spoken about on here yet. So there's this, you often think that to do a PhD, you have to do it like straight out of uni. And actually, a lot of people go and do PhDs later on in their career whilst being paid their salary. So you don't get like the rubbish stipend that means that you don't have money to live on, or you can't pay your tax, or like you're not contributing to national insurance yet. A lot of people just do the PhD whilst they're working in their actual job, and then they get to keep their normal salary. And you kind of like, so you do it part-time, which should mean it'll take like 6 years rather than 3. But in reality, it's not like you're splitting your time exactly half and half. You're just kind of doing the PhD as you're working. And yeah, you get to keep your salary. So like at the end of the day, if I ever feel like I need one in my career, there'll be a way to like do it in the role if the organisation I was working for like supported me and liked me and wanted me to do it. But I think it's just important to remember that the only time to do one isn't just after you graduate. So don't panic that that's the only time, because it's not. I need to get a move on. I've got 10 minutes till my train. And then another question that I often get asked is the classic, how did you learn to code? The basic thing is do some intro courses like Python and R and Bash, and then find a way to apply them. So there's a few links online, I'll put them in the description, of like ways you can do problems on your computer. Why am I so out of breath? I actually ran a half marathon on Sunday. But anyway, have ways where you can like then apply those skills that you've learned onto real world problems. So there's like the Rosalind bioinformatics problems thing. Then there's like the new one from OMG Genomics. They just released loads of tutorials recently. And then once you've done like some little problems, then start doing like bigger projects and put them on a GitHub repo, build a portfolio. Yeah, that's how you develop. And then if you can, which is what I did, find a mechanism to then teach those skills back to someone else. That was something that like really helped me when I was learning, because if you can then explain that concept to someone else, then it means that you defo understand it well enough. I think that'll do for today's rushed video. But yeah, so in true commuter style, my train is 2 minutes late, so I can actually finish off the video I was doing. So one of the other questions I was asked at the careers day was like, why did you choose to go into bioinformatics? And I think like originally I wanted to go into something called genetic counselling. So this is where like you have patients like accessing medical care who have a genetic disease, and then the genetic counsellor, or like a potential genetic disease, and then the genetic counsellor essentially like talks them through how talks them through that treatment pathway, what it might mean for them, like guides them through genomic medicine essentially. And I really wanted to do this because I was like, oh, that really suits me. Like I love the genetics, I want to be talking to people. But then I found out that with genetic counselling, if you train in the UK, you can't take that qualification abroad. You'd have to retrain. It's not like medicine where there are exams to then like change over to that country's requirements. You just can't work without retraining there. And I always wanted to live abroad at some point, so I was like, oh, this literally doesn't work. And then I found bioinformatics, and I was like, oh, this is like such a transferable skill. Like I could just pick this up and go and work in America or Canada or anywhere else. So I thought that made more sense and then allowed me the flexibility. And I was super worried it was going to be like a really lonely job. And to be honest with you, like there has been times in some of my jobs where like it has been lonely. It's just been like coding on a project on my own, and like I haven't really enjoyed it that much. But what I have learned is bioinformatics jobs are really varied. It depends on the team and the organization. Like even different teams in different organizations are going to be completely different. It depends on like how your organization's set up. It depends on if you're working in like academia versus industry. Like all these things will affect what that job looks like. So some of them will be lonely, right? Like if you're a bioinformatics contractor just building a piece of software for one use case and you're just working at home all the time, then that is going to be a lonely one. But then also if you're a bioinformatician in a team, like working collaboratively with people, like my first job at Saga was, it can also be like really team working, collaborative and really fun. So it's not going to be like that lonely. So that was a really good thing. The final question that we ended on at the Q&A session was what's something that you're really proud of? And I actually didn't get around to answering this one, but one of the ladies on the panel just said something that she was proud of in her personal life. So I mean, my one is like, I ran a half marathon on Sunday, which is like literally insane. I couldn't run before, and I've been going on lunch runs at work. And I think that's one thing I've really enjoyed about like my job in a non-for-profit research institute is I have a 1 hour unpaid lunch break. And yeah, I could go downstairs to the canteen with my team. Yeah, I could go sit on my own and read a book, but like I can also in an hour put my running stuff on, go out for a half an hour run, have a shower, get changed, and be back at my desk and then eat my lunch at my desk. So I'm really proud that like I got that into my work routine this year, and then I've been running most lunches, and then that meant that I could run a half marathon. Because when you're commuting, like I don't get home till like gone 7 o'clock. It's too dark and cold. Whereas yeah, because my work
gives me that flexibility. I was able to do that this year, so I'm mega proud of that. I'm also mega proud of my promotion this year. I moved teams internally and went back up to senior, which great for the ego, and also just feels like the right time, feels like a good fit. So I'm really happy about that. And then yeah, I think that's it. So I probably should go and get my delayed trade now. But I hope this has been an insightful video. And like I said before, if there's anything else you would like to know, just put it down in the description. And thanks again. Remember, I hate saying this in public. Subscribe. Bye.